Okay, this is the most controversial wheel in sim racing and we need to talk about it. It is the Huskenveld one and unbelievably it's only $599, Sam. But as two people with a background in real racing, I think this is a change in direction of where sim racing could go and not everyone's going to be happy about it. Because to date, most sim racing wheels have kind of stayed within the general boundaries and confinements of what you see on a real wheel. Even if you have something that's like on a concept car.
It still generally looks like what you expect a wheel to be.
And even something like this, the Bavarian SimTech, it makes compromises by having like funky switches that you wouldn't have in a real car. But this is 100% built to the tolerances that you could actually use this in a real car. And then when you have slight things that change, like this screen on the Ace Forte Formula, you wouldn't have a screen that big in a real car, but that's a kind of exaggeration for sim racing. But what the Husqvarna 1 is doing is completely different. So what do you think about it, first of all?
First of all, to me, does it even actually look like a wheel?
I'm not sure.
It looks like some sort of fighter jet, like from Independence Day, that type of alien.
Yeah, I think it's genuinely two joysticks connected by what looks like a screen, but isn't a screen, which is partly why I think the price is competitive. But there's an issue here with like how we drive cars and the tools that we use. But I think this is almost more like a controller than a wheel, actually. And I'm not sure that's necessarily a bad thing. A lot of us start on controllers, and Gran Turismo, we've raced with some drivers on controllers that are just crazy fast. But there's some safety concerns that there are going to be about this wheel, but also like the philosophy of it. So I have to say, I really respect them for trying something different.
Something out of the box.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, if someone said, "Oh, have you seen that wheel?" You're not going to think, "Oh, was it this one or was it this one?"
Yeah.
You're going to know which wheel it is straight away they're talking about.
And everyone's talking about it. So firstly, what do we think about having all of these buttons at thumb reach?
I think having the buttons above your thumb is actually a really good idea. Like, they're easy to go. You don't have to move your hands around too much. You're keeping your hands roughly in the same sort of positioning.
Yeah, the thing that worries me a little bit about safety is that the thumb slots don't look massive. I mean, they're not massive here, but then coming in and coming out, doing that kind of movement a lot might be a bit risky if you're kind of halfway in or something happens on the wheel, which is a bit different from just going over here. So that does kind of worry me a little bit. Also, I'd say for sim racing, how often do you need to use these buttons?
Way less than what manufacturers give you. I mean, on my Moto FSR, I've got my buttons mapped. I might adjust the traction control and ABS occasionally, and in the pit in and the flash. Yeah. What else do I use buttons for? Very minimal stuff.
I should say that we are really big fans of having buttons where you can actually access them easily. So when you have buttons like, probably the Fanatec is not going to be, or we have other wheels where you have to access buttons kind of like these encoders here are going to be difficult to access.
Yeah.
Actually, you may be able to do that a lot quicker on the Husqvarna 1 at the bottom there, but in the event, you've got so many around the thumb reach. And when you look at replica Formula 1 wheels, you see it's all about that thumb reach.
Yeah, and then obviously the way which you can get around the button placements, which a lot of companies are doing nowadays, they're actually angling the buttons towards your thumb for that ease of use, that real customer satisfaction, really. But what Husqvarna have done is now moved the buttons from here to above. So to actually do that with a wheel, realistically, I only have little hands. That would be a real struggle for me. Yeah, because I've only got tiny hands.
So interestingly, on the modules, it looks like they're going to be replaceable. Yes. So you may be able to replace the buttons for what you want. You may be able to have one big button there.
Humongous.
Yeah, a flash button or something like that, which would be quite interesting, or have a different arrangement. But I really respect what they've done. However, I think it's almost like it's like blasphemous, this wheel. Because if we start to see more of this, I think we will lose connection with the cars that we're driving. And there's like been a kind of unspoken thing with the companies at the moment, where they kind of look like wheels. If you start to get stuff like this that is performance enhancing, like let's say you can it's easier to change brake bias or something like that, so you can do it much more easily than you could in a real car. Then we're going to have real questions about esports drivers using these, and we're going to have this differentiation. So I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I mean, for me, personally, it just doesn't look to me like it's a comfortable wheel to use. It looks fancy. I mean, like I said earlier, it stands out by miles. But to reach some of those buttons, for example, the light flash up there, that, me with my little hands, I'm going to really struggle. Yeah. And
That's
even the
strange.
top dial.
Yeah.
So the top dial next to the red DRS button, you can see. To actually reach that, I'm going to have to fully take my whole hand off to do that.
The irony with this wheel is, and as you have a look at this Bavarian Syntec camera, and we're not paid by any of these brands, we've got those different brands here. It's got buttons on the back, but actually, if you look at the placement here in the encoder, this arguably is easier to use, which would make sense because if this was a possible thing to do in real racing cars would have something like this.
You'd already see this everywhere.
So I just wonder if this is like, I mean, this is going to be fantastic for content creation because if you want to sit and do a replay, you can have all your buttons there for different different camera views, and you can have cinematic stuff and everything. It might be helpful for kind of, like, sounds weird, but like not productivity, but like checking different applications or whatnot and having all these buttons, you know, available. But I just wonder if it's actually a little bit divisive for the sake of it, which I don't blame them for because everyone's talking about it, but it is so different.
I mean, it's a very big novelty factor to me. The way it just looks so different. Like you said earlier on in the video, it does look like two, essentially, Nintendo Wii. No, not Nintendo, the VR controllers held together by this big old unit in the middle, which, once again, you can see from the pictures, does seem to be detached.
This could be great for VR. I will say in VR, I'm not very good at knowing which one of these buttons I'm pressing. So you see these three buttons here. I'm not very good. Like I kind of have to go to the bottom and then work out. And if in a high speed situation, here this might be kind of easier. However, I would expect to see some kind of like different ridging on the button. So one has like one bump, one has two bumps or something. But for VR, it could be really, really cool.
I mean, in the picture there, you can see just between all 5 buttons, there is some sort of ridge in there.
The middle
so
point.
You can get a rough idea to see where it is. So that's a well thought out design.
There's some other interesting factor. That's not a screen in the middle.
I know.
So, you know, again, if you're a VR player, you don't care about a screen. So I wonder if this is kind of like a VR focused wheel.
It goes with the VR handles,
yeah.
you're saying.
It also has, what would be interesting, and don't want to give everything away, but like if you have them detachable and then you clamp them into your wheel and you're good to go. And then you got everything. So a little hub system. This also has push-pull triggers on the back, or shifters on the back. Again, not sure how I feel about that, but it's something, they're doing something different, which I rate, rather than everyone trying to make the best GT3 form factor wheel.
Yeah, it's definitely out there. Definitely completely different product to what we used to see. There's
some nice touches as well, like the chamfering looks really nice on the grips. I actually quite like the finish. I like the fact that, I mean, it would look amazing if it was carbon fiber, let's be honest. But again, if it's a VR focus one, I'm not sure about the encoders.
I'm not a fan of the encoders, personally.
Yeah, but I can see what they're trying to do. And we do have two funky switches, which I just think should be the norm. Just having two funky switches. Like, for example, I think the Fanatec one here missed a trick by not having two funkies. You can see all of these ones have two funky switches, which is incredible. Husqvarna have such a good reputation from the pedals as well. If you're someone that bought Husqvarna Sprints or Ultimates, you've had them for a few years, you're going to be like, yeah, I trust this company. I'm going to see what they got to offer.
Absolutely.
And $599 as well, we know is such a competitive price point. Given that the Chinese brands like Conspit are so aggressive on price, like the 300 GT, you almost need to compete in a different way, I'd say. So it's a super, super, super interesting wheel, like a crazy interesting wheel. Very controversial, like we said. Let us know in the comments what you think of it. Let us know if you want us to try and get our hands on it, because it looks like nothing else out there, which is super refreshing.
It is.
We'll see you next time.